Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela. How you guys doing tonight? Staying out of trouble, hopefully? Okay, so let's see all who is in. DD74, Space River News, and Gainer, Preliminal, Jumping Ship, Michael Barkay, Shoddy D, of course, Austin 108, I know I saw down there somewhere was Dark Wolf's Den Show. Welcome. Eliza Powell. I think that's everybody. Linda Lava Lamp. Four Leaf Clover. Dun, dun, dun. Getting down to the end. And Bill Knight. Last but not last. However that goes. All right, welcome back, my friends of the show. Yes, yeah, the Mandela is the show that never ends. I was just thinking before I started, like a couple minutes ago, how many things have completely reversed. And then I thought back to when I was a kid, and I remember that they had, they tell you one health thing, and then 10 years later, they tell you, no, the opposite. Like, there's a lot of examples, like one just off the top of my head is they used to say, when you stretch, you should like bounce gently to help stretch the muscles. And then later they said, no, never bounce. It's bad. And then they said, well, you should always stretch before exercises. And then last I checked, they were saying, actually, there's no research for stretching. And when we did research it, we found that there was no improvement in number of muscle pulls, so it apparently didn't do any good. And B, it actually tired the muscles out in advance, so people performed less well when they stretched before exercise versus just running cold. So basically, it totally flip-flopped. Well, back in the 70s, they were still flip-flopping this stuff, and I remember they said something, and my mom was like, that's it. They used to say the opposite, and I'm just done listening. And of course, as a child, I'm like, oh, well, science is better now. So, those old things that they said, they just didn't have the science. Yeah, there's another one. Eat eggs, don't eat eggs, cholesterol bad, cholesterol good, cholesterol blah, 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 blah. First we're going to have the coming ice age. Now we're working on global warming. Yeah. Okay. You get the picture. There's a lot of stuff. It's not just for health. But I thought about, I wonder if, they don't just shift. A lot of times they actually flip to like the completely opposite of what they used to say. So if it was just health stuff, I could blame it on maybe some kind of big pharma scam or but it's everything, it's things that I can't see them benefiting from even. So maybe one of the points of the reversals is to make it more obvious for those that are paying attention. Maybe it is kind of a bone that's thrown to kind of get us to wake up. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems like a lot of them, on the one hand, it's a complete and blatant opposite. But then on the other hand, there's like this excuse mongering. Oh, well, it turns out, blah, 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 blah. So it kind of sounds good on paper. So if you really don't want to see it, you have a way to not see it. But if you're really paying attention, the pattern is pretty obvious in retrospect. My generation people brag about how they were fine on 4 hours sleep. Now they say must be sleep before midnight, sleep 8 hours, etc. That's interesting. This whole reality is one big misconception. That might be true in more ways than just the Mandela. That's like, it's a very simple statement, but the more you look, the truer it may be, all the way down to the bottom. So yeah, anyway, I was just thinking that, I'm like, man, all these opposite things. Of course, some of the Mandelas are not opposite things, they're just totally new things, but just some little pondering. So I don't have like a super ton of Mandelas this week, but I have some. And one is that, okay, we kind of went through different colored honey. I don't know, it was a year or two ago. Maybe it was even like 3 years ago. I know I did it on my show. But that time when I looked into colored honeys, it was always due to the bees having consumed some artificial substance. So there was like one where they were producing some weird color, and it was determined that they had gotten sugar from a factory and it was colored sugar. And I was already suspicious because I just do not ever recall them ever having bees get sugar for anything besides pollen. Because let's face it, pollen is not pure sugar. So 20, 30 years ago, I just remember that sugar, that pollen was it. They had to get that pure pollen and then they would process it. You started to hear that they would give sugar to the hives. If they overwinter and the hive is not doing well, they would put sugar so they could eat sugar. But I still had never heard of them just like copying whatever crap sugar they found laying around on the street. And then so much of it that the color, like when I eat red stuff, I don't have like red excretions. If I eat a whole bunch of colored candies, that doesn't change the color of what comes out of me. So why would the bees be like that? I mean, I've never heard of such a thing. There's just a whole bunch of questions there is my point. So a couple years ago, that was it. There was only bees consuming artificial things like from a factory with artificial dyes in it. Those are the only stories there were for colored honey, other than the natural amber variations. And even way back, I really don't remember there being like much difference, like any difference in even the amber. Honey was honey. It was honey colored. Then there started this dark honey, this light honey, this Manuka honey, blah, blah. It's been stretching. So then it was the colored honey. Well, now we have natural purple honey is now on the table. And that was not there before. But this is not new. I mean, it's actually in old literature. It's always been there, going way back, like 100 years or more. And it's purple honey. And apparently the primary place it is found is in North Carolina. Did you know that honeybee is North Carolina state insect? Blah, blah, blah. Purple honey, sweet shimmering, and unmistakably purple, largely found in hives near and around North Carolina coastal plain. And I've also heard of it. That area is referred to as Sand Hills area of North Carolina. Looks more like a brew from science fiction flick than the familiar condiment. All right, maybe I'll play a tad of this. I actually haven't played this. I probably should have. Quit that. All right, so I guess this dark stuff is the purple. Here they are shining a light through it. Looks like an ordinary light, so you can see how purple it is. I've also, let's see what we got here. Okay, not the world's best video, but so it really looks kind of like black when there's a lot of it. Now they're going to pour some. Wait, here it is. Still looks black. Kind of creepy, actually. So when I have seen some images of when they first uncap the honey and like honey is oozing down, and when there's a thinner amount of it, it looks more like a regular purple instead of black. But the point is, this really is, not just a little bit purple. It is so purple like it's black when there's a lot of it. Okay, so now the story is that for decades and decades, people have been trying to figure out why some hives will produce it. Now, one of the stories is that, say you have 5 hives, one hive might produce this purple honey and all the other 4, even if they're right near, may not. And so that's one of the questions. Then there's all these theories like, well, maybe it's the kudzu plant flowers. Maybe it's them sucking on elderberries and blackberries. Now, in my old timeline, bees didn't eat fruit, but I guess now they'll go for any sugar, including fruit. So if they're eating these fruits, which just wasn't a thing before because they ate freaking pollen, maybe that would dye the honey. And if it wasn't weird enough, people are saying that the honey tastes extra good. And guess what it tastes like? Of course, it tastes like grape. Just like, because everything purple tastes like grape apparently in this timeline. A stuffer that the old stuff that was purple and already didn't taste like grape. Okay, so this particular article then supposedly solved the mystery. The mystery I've never heard of, that wasn't there 2 years ago, but has now always been there for hundreds of years. Based on tests performed by Ambrose and his team, it may be aluminum reacting with the acid in the bees' stomachs that causes a blue tinge. The flowers in the coastal plain of North Carolina have more aluminum in the nectar, possibly accounting for the region's production of purple honey. Another culprit could be sourwood plant, which, when soaked overnight in the digestive liquids of the bees, produce a purple hue. While these tests proved fairly conclusive, they haven't always stood up to folk knowledge. And then they're talking about the kudzu. The honey itself is considered sweeter than its amber cousin, sometimes with a slight fruit quality, and I've definitely heard it's been referred to as grape flavored in some areas. Okay, so then if you start reading these articles, this is the only one that talks about the aluminum. Let me see when the date is for this thing. 2020. So I'm really suspicious. It is kind of newish, but so you start reading on these, and then there'll be people going, oh, we had some of that in Florida once, and it was really strange, and it was at the end of the season, and oh, we had some over in New York once, and we had it over here, and then blah, 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 and then someone's like, oh, are you sure you don't have a factory nearby, because that's like 3 years ago's story. And then the person's like, oh, no, we're out in the forest, and, we don't know what caused it, and all this. So I think the aluminum story is suspicious because it seems like there would be, more variations of, if there's a lot of aluminum in the flowers in North Carolina, there's always going to be a lot of aluminum in the flowers of North Carolina. So you should just get more honey like that. You should get some that's kind of purple, and then some, it should be more of a common problem. The sourwood plant, okay. So then everything around the sourwood plants, like all the honey around there probably would be purple, right? So then you would narrow it down. Okay, what does this area have in common? So one argument was, well, maybe the bees from one hive located a patch of the plant that causes purple, and then the hive next door did not locate that, and we're not feeding off of that. But still, I just feel like you'd have more hives all having it, like at least half your hives would find it, right? It just seems weird to me that just one hive would be the one to have it. So there's a lot of weird in this story. I feel like we're just going to get more colors and stuff. And maybe probably the story is going to continue to develop. Purple honey in North Carolina. I don't know if anybody's from there. Have you ever heard of the purple honey of the Sand Hills, North Carolina? Because apparently it's supposed to be pretty famous. That was another thing, they actually had this story on Reddit somewhere, and there were people from Sand Hills who said they never heard of it, and they were very intrigued as well. Racist honey. Yeah, well, we have the almost black, it's purple honey. Is that racist? The logical danger had it 2 to 3 months ago here. I talk about the purple honey. Yeah, and I'm sorry, I haven't seen it since it came on. When I covered it a couple years ago, it was only with the factory dye sugar. So that's the new upgrade. Is now it's natural, some natural plant thing. It is not factory chemicals doing it. Crocodiles are gathering on the beaches in Brazil. Let's check it out. Yeah, they used to just be river creatures, and I have been seeing more and more about these large crocs or gators or something, swimming around in oceans real far. I guess I don't know, they've always been good swimmers, but what is this? These things look so white. Crocodiles and surfing. Why is it so white? Is it just muddy? But it just seems weird. Costa Rica Day. Crocodiles are amazing. We saw a dozen or more. In Brazil, invasion of crocodiles have flooded. So if it's not homeless people in Los Angeles, it's crocodiles. It's like all of our beaches.
Para
Holy
vocês que
hand
nunca viram
grenades. That's a
jacaré,
lot of crocs. Oh, gosh. I know he's going to be using that beach. Holy wacko ducks. That's not cool at all. And they're not kidding when they said they flooded the beaches. Holy cow. All right, looks like they're panning along. There's just more and more. Oh my gosh, that's like thousands of crocs. There's a bunch in the water too. Oh my God. When was the date of that? Oh my gosh. September 13th. So that was like 2 days ago. That is not cool. This, I'm just looking at this. I think the purple honey isn't too bad, except for I don't know what they're going to say caused it, so maybe I'll change my mind later. But there's a number of rather Mandelas I'd rather not see, and them crocodiles covering the beaches is definitely one of those. Ugh. One of the beaches with hundreds, even thousands, and the local population is panicking. Yeah, they probably are losing a lot of tourist money. Look at that. There's no upvotes. Give this poor man. Oh, no, there's 11 upvotes. Give this poor person an upvote. Ugh. This is not going to be the end of it either. There's going to be more. Man uses live crocodile as a weapon to defend itself. Yeah, well, they're not as mean now. You can carry them and stuff. That looks like the same article. Do they even say why there was a flood, though? Usually there's some kind of excuse, like there was a big storm, or, I don't know, weird temperatures in the ocean, some kind of yammer. All right. There's like almost, this is the same article. This is the same one. I don't know. There's like no info on why. I wouldn't be surprised if we see more. It just seems like mass hordes of everything are more common now. Where I used to see, 20 or 30, now there'll be like thousands. Yeah, lime honey. There should be like all the colors of honey, and then they should all have their own flavor. That is actually something I could get behind. Something most peculiar after third day of full moon. I don't see it in the sky. It's not there day or night. I did see it, I believe, was that today? I think it was today. It was either yesterday or today. I'm pretty sure it was today. Low in the sky when I was leaving. I just went to work for a few hours today, so it was pretty late when I left. So I don't know, Shari, you just got to check that timeanddate.com and see where it's supposed to be, and then see if it's there. It's kind of hard to track now, so of course, if there's a Mandela shift, the timeanddate.com will also shift, but at least you can look and say, okay, tomorrow it's supposed to be here at this time, and then if it's not there at that time tomorrow, then there's a shift. There is a white honey, but not made by bees. I'm almost afraid to even investigate that one now. Crocodiles have a summit. So yeah, it was that weird like orangey-ish color that it does a lot when near the horizon now. I guess it's just going to be a little discolored always or a lot when it's near the horizon. They're saying there's more atmosphere between you and it, so it's colored, which never used to be the case, but whatever. Eat beets, you know what? I've never had any of these color changes like ever. And I have definitely had times when I just like fell in love with the food and ate it for days straight. I can be really bad that way. So yeah, a lot of people don't remember purple carrots like way back. That's kind of a Mandela for many. Of course, now they're always been there. Still haven't seen the blue bananas. Yeah, no blue bananas here either. Got knocked out on the 25th of August for more than 2 weeks. For more than 2 weeks, anyone else? You know, I've been doing the fasting and it's really been helping. So I don't know. It's weird. On the days I don't eat, I feel so much more alert. The trick is to get over the hunger phase, and so you're alert, but you're like food. So, but once I've been doing it for a while, it's a lot less. And one thing I do allow is one of those energy drinks. So when the hunger hits, I drink one of those, and it's only 10 calories in it. It really knocks out the hunger for a while. And that's been very convenient. My system is starting to get used to it now. It's like, okay, if I get hungry in the middle of the day and then a monster drink is consumed, that means you don't get no food for the rest of the day. So quit whining. It seems to be working. Blue Java bananas. Okay, so what's next? All right, unless you tell me the white honey is not something weird and creepy gross that won't get me any community guideline strikes, I'm not looking it up. But I will ask you. So, the question of the Fruit of the Loom logo came up the other day, and there was a video where a snippet of the old Fruit of the Loom logo was on the snippet, and then somebody posted that on Retcon and a few other places, and it was all very suspicious. And I got Eva started the B1 100 milligrams. It's very nice. Yeah, I'm still on my B1. I'm glad it worked for you. I think it helps mitochondria. It's said to anyways, but I do notice that if I don't take my fairly high dose B1 like twice a day, my energy levels and my mood will still slip. So I'm still on it. There's no known danger of taking a lot of B1, so I'm still on that. All right, where was I? Okay, so there was a video, and seemingly randomly in the video was the old Fruit of the Loom logo with the cornucopia. But right away I was suspicious. First, the video had just been posted, and then the old cornucopia in the video was apparently found by somebody and posted all over like the next day. So the first thing I noticed about that cornucopia is, a while ago, the Mandela Effect community made our best guess of what the old cornucopia looked like. But it was still a guess. It wasn't 100% perfect. We just did our best to replicate it. It's pretty close. People are like, yeah, that's about right. But nobody ever said it was 110% exactly like the old one. But the one that showed up in this old version was the exact one that we created. And that seemed wrong to me, because the real one that we remember would be a little bit off. the proportions were not going to be 110%. So I'm like, that's funny. It was our Mandela version that was on there. And then somebody went and so the video showed old advertising clips from the newspaper. So somebody went and got the original newspaper and saw that, in fact, the logo had been edited for that video. And I think it was just somebody's attempt to get a bunch of traffic to their video by hiding that Easter egg in there, but then going around and telling everybody about the Easter egg. But so be very careful of that video, because I think that's still floating around and it has been debunked. But however, okay, I'll give a caveat. I do think it's possible that maybe the original newspaper would have changed, but not the video. I don't think it's likely, though, because there wasn't that much distortion in it. But the second thing, like I said, is that it was a exact replica of our from memory copy. So I don't think it can be legit. So I feel like it's been thoroughly debunked by those two things. But it did get me to looking at the Fruit of the Loom logo. I'm just reading what you're writing here. And I noticed some things that even the new logo looked a bit different than the last time I looked at the new. So maybe this is the new logo. And then I thought of something else that I remembered way back. So don't look at the logo yet. I'm going to ask you a specific question. Those of you that are a little older, like myself, may remember in childhood, and actually really they've been going on for a while, so maybe you don't even have to be that old. There used to be Fruit of the Loom commercials, many of them, many versions of them over the years, starting, I believe, in the 70s, where they had dudes, like guys, dressed up as the fruit from the logo. There were 4 guys, so I'll narrow that much down for you. They dress up as the fruit, and then there would, be various goofy escapades that they would get involved in while talking about underwear. Okay, so here is the question for you guys. Which 4 fruit did they dress up as? Name the fruits. They were Fruit of the Loom guys. There were 4 of them. What were the 4 fruits? From memory, no cheating. Yes, so I think the commercials were more common in the 70s, but they have continued on. I frankly don't hardly watch TV, so I'm really not sure if there's tons of them now. But I did look up on YouTube the old ones, and I saw some from like the 80s and the 90s, so you probably have been exposed to these if you watch TV at all. So there was a lot of these commercials. It wasn't just like one. There's been like probably at least a dozen of them. I don't understand what's going on in this world. The financial world should have collapsed a long time ago. Food shortage should have been here for 2 years now, and still we live no. I know, it's always coming. I said from the start that the world's getting propped up right now by fairy dust, because there should have been a big collapse after like a year of lockdowns, and yet the stock market was surging. It made no sense. Now, maybe the world has always been propped up by fairy dust, and now it's just getting more and more deranged and obviously strange and less predictable and more extreme. But there's always, it's coming. I don't think it's going to come. I think we're going to do, like I've said before with the arm pokes and stuff, there's going to be, the everything is fine people, and the everything's going to burn down, crash, and complete disaster people. And I think we're going to go down somewhere down the middle there. Just like every time I say it, that's what's going to happen. And maybe it's because I believe that's what's going to happen, that is what's going to happen for me. I don't know. Maybe beliefs make it, but it just seems like every time it's a not worst case scenario, but it isn't perfect either. Grape was a black guy. Apple, Richard Simmons, one guy, was leaves. Okay, that's Mandanimal. Big apple, big grape, strawberry, and pear. Banana? I'm not giving anything away. I'm just curious. I'm really curious what you guys remember. Now, obviously, for me, it has changed. I would not have this on here. Part of my question is I remember 3 of them, but I'm blurry on the 4th. So I'm curious what other people remember as the 4th. And it may be that it has kind of sneaky changed through the timelines, and that's one of the reasons I'm blurry. I'm really clear on 3 of the 4, though. And I'm very clear that one of the current ones is new for me, for sure, for sure's. All right, so let's see. We had grapes, apple grapes, grapes. I'm assuming you're going to say it's purple grapes. Okay, we got apples and grapes, apples and grapes, a pear, a grape, grape, apple, pear. Banana, apple, grape, strawberry, and pear. What was the 4th fruit? I don't know what it was for you, but it's probably not the same as it is now anyway. Grape was always a black guy. A lot of people do remember grape was a black guy. Apple, grape, strawberry, banana. Interesting. So you guys who remember strawberries, do you remember it real clear? I'm kind of curious. Brain fart on the 4th. So, strawberries, bananas, and pears. How well do you remember, those of you that remember that? Strawberries, bananas, and pears. Yeah, the grape guy. So, yeah. New Zealand dropped the arm poke. I think you left some baloney in place, though. I don't think you dropped everything, if I recall correctly. Apples and grapes. I remember grape, banana, and strawberry. Okay, so you remember strawberry well? Yes, purple grape was the black guy. People agree purple grape was the black guy. Grapes, apples, pears, and I don't remember strawberries or banana. There was definitely a leaf costume. I think Mandanimal is the only one who remembers the leaf. And you might be current timeline, because I'm going to pull up the image. I noticed only one person mentioned leaf. Let's see. Fruit of the Loom. Commercial. I'll just do commercial. So I went through 70s, 80s, 90s. As best I can tell, there have been no changes in the fruit people as far as what fruits they represent. And the costumes are pretty stable over time. Like they don't have a huge change. Okay. Oh, now I say that and it looks like I'm lying because that guy looks weird. All right, I'm going to find here. This is pretty much it though. You know, I looked at this the other day and I did not find that guy. I know that guy actually does represent, looks like there's a fair bit of variation in Mr. Leaf. Okay, so I don't remember there being a freaking leaf guy. That is for sure. Okay, Mr. Leaf Boy. I don't remember there being a fruit that is a leaf. So apparently now just looking, I mean, I looked at this like last week, but now there's a lot of variation in this leaf dude. All right, here's your black grapes boy. And I do remember a dorky looking apple man. Although I don't remember the core having that much white in my timeline, but and I don't remember the stem dangling down, and maybe there's some variation in some of the other commercials, but I didn't really see that. I remember an uppy stem that was brown and a core with less white and more red. And but yes, so everybody remembers apple and grape boy. I don't remember there being 2 grapes. I am positive that there was a banana guy for my time. I am positive because I thought it was a little cheeky to have underwear and a banana. And the banana bottom like pushed out at the bottom, making it even more cheeky. and it was, really sexually suggestive, especially for the 70s, so it kind of stuck in my head like that's, the elephant in the room with Mr. Banana Boy. So I know there was a banana. What I can't remember really clearly is who the third guy was, or the fourth guy. I think it might have been pear, but I do kind of have a vague memory of an orange. I do not have any memory of a strawberry though. But again, it might have changed through time. Now it's always been these four dudes though. And this is what brought it on. I don't know, does anybody remember Leaf Sky? Because I just really remember there was one grapes and only one grapes. And there was no leaf guy for sure. So I was looking at the logo for this issue of the Fakened video. And having looked at the logo, I'm like, no, that's not right. So the logo now has an apple and a whole bunch of grapes and a whatever these things are. I don't even know what they are, frankly. Are they some other kind of grapes? Because all of these grapes are depicted with these lines, and then these things are depicted with these dots. So they don't really look like grapes. I don't know what those are, but they weren't on there before, and I remember there being more fruits. It wasn't an apple and a ton of berries. I'm trying to think on the leaves. I do not think there were leaves. I think it was a bunch of fruits. Now, the leaves might have snuck on there, and I probably wouldn't have noticed right away. But I guess that's why. So when I saw this, and then I'm like, wait, and there were four guys in costumes. What four guys was it? Because I'm like, I see an apple, and I see a grapes. There's no banana. I swear there was a banana, and there was stuff. The cornucopia originally had a big range of fruits coming out. It wasn't just these. So I think that this logo has continued to change and simplify or whatever. So most people remember an apple and a grape. Then it diverges from there. Shari doesn't remember the apple guy. That's interesting. So you remember blueberry. I don't remember blueberry. Do you believe we're within a simulation? I think it's highly likely from what I've seen. Not to say that we exist inside a big computer or something, but basically it's something that is not as solid as we think it is. That would explain a lot. And the memories thing and stuff. Maybe there's a lot of non-player characters. I think there might be a lot of non-player characters. One thing I've noticed lately, I almost forgot to bring this up. So I go into the restaurant, I go into the grocery store. Lately, I find myself saying quite often, I'm noticing it's not busy. Like it's way, I know, okay, so sales are down like 35% for me, my store. But I'm looking around, first of all, it's a grocery store, so you can't cut eating food as much as you can cut like buying crap online like my stuff, right? Like stuff that's not necessary for survival. So even if their sales were down 35%, which seems unlikely considering you still need food, it's less than, it's way less than 35% less people. I mean, there's way more than 35% less people. Like it's not just down a third. It's down like, it just seems like there's only 10% of the people should be in the store, right? Restaurants, same thing. Okay, so at first when this happened, oh, well, it's the pandemic. People are scared at home. Most people are out now. And so then I'm like, well, is it the recession, But I'm like, well, people still need food. So I'll say something because I'm kind of trying to gather data on what's going on. So I'll say to the checkout person, wow, it's really quiet in here right now. Was it quiet today? Something like that. I get the same story every time. And I got it last night at another restaurant, and I Suddenly realized this is how many times have I heard this? The same story. Well, it was busy earlier. That's what I hear every time. It was busy earlier. So in the past, if I would say it's quiet, the usual response is yes, it's been quiet today. I mean, anybody who's in retail or public knows there's just slow days. You know, maybe it's because it's raining and sometimes it's just weird and it's a slow day. That would be the most common response is yes, it's a quiet day. I don't recall ever over and over getting the same response. It was busy earlier. And that's what I'm getting. And it's just sort of weird. I don't know exactly what it means, but it is weird. There were 3 fruits and leaves. So Mandanimal remembers 3 fruits and leaves. There's really only 2 fruits and leaves, though, because it's 2 grapes. I don't remember there being 2 grapes. Blueberry. I don't remember there being blueberry. Apple and pear. So, yeah, I'm thinking maybe pear or orange. Was always boxers, void versus briefs. Yeah, but you saw the commercials. I'm a chick. I don't even wear them. I still remember the commercial, and I've never worn a pair of Fruit of the Loom's clothing in my life, I don't think. Find it weird how people can walk right up and fall in volcanoes, like last week in Mount Vesuvius. I've had this on before, Ghosty333. I covered this a number of years ago. I do not remember people being able to tolerate being near the mouth of a lava volcano. It was too hot. You had to stay way back. In order to get close, you'd have to wear protective gear. You could only stay for a very short, like really fancy protective gear. And even then, you would have to bail out soon. Now, apparently, it just ain't that hot. Lava is not frying the air for very far. Shari does not remember Leaf Boy. No dang leaf for me. Yes. Don't remember Leaf Guy. The black guy is not the same. Okay, well, here's the thing. They probably don't have the same black guy through the years. So you'd have to go back and look at the 70s, 80s, 90s. Because it was always a youngish black guy. That guy would be old now. And yet they never have old geezer. Like that white guy would be old too, right? So they must have switched out the black guys. You'd have to go back to the 70s and see. 2 grapes and an apple. So 4-leaf clover remembers close to what we now have. But most of you do not remember Leaf Guy. I am positive there was no Leaf Guy. The one thing I really remember is all the costumes are really like bulky and I'm just kind of weird the way my brain works. But I was thinking, like even them getting through the door was difficult. I would wonder how many takes they would have to do of the video of them like bouncing off the door hinge and pounding into like the obstacles, because it was clearly difficult to maneuver around in all of the costumes. Now Leaf Boy, yeah, leaf is not a fruit, but it used to be all fruits. Fruit of the Loom has vegetables or whatever it is, leaves. Yes, I'm better. So I'm positive it's a banana. So I know there was a grape, an apple, and a banana. I'm just not sure on that 4th one. I know it wasn't leaves, though. I know that. Me too. Empty Home Depot, Lowe's, had to make many trips. Totally empty. No one knows anything. Because it's empty. Like, it's so empty that I'm like, these people are going to go out of business empty. That's one of the reasons I was asking, because I'm thinking the manager's going to be like, oh, man, there's nobody in here. We're going to go out of business. No, they go, oh, it was busy earlier. Okay. I don't think they're all lying. In the old days, if it was slow all day, yeah, it's slow all day. Is it slow because of the recession? Yeah, it's been slow because of the recession. And if they really are going to go out of business, they'd have that like fear look in their face, Southern California has a node of positive charge, good energy, so that's why many folks come. I sure hope so. I still don't feel like it's nearly as positive as it was, but well, maybe. You have a point. A lot of stuff online looks horrible. LA, but the actual people out here don't seem that different. I mean, there's been some changes over the last 20 years, but People still seem, yeah, they remind me of LA 25 years ago. Like they're not as cool as they were when I first moved here, but it's definitely more friendly than a lot of places. The sky is brown with haze, no rain, hot and often muggy. It's been muggy. There's been a lot of haze. I think that's all over with the haze. I don't know about the brown sky though. The clouds are weirdly brown, which they always have been. But in haze, yeah, but I wouldn't say the skies themselves are brown. The clouds, yes, though. A lot of homeless, a lot of homeless, but mostly in Los Angeles. I don't see a huge uptake locally. Okay, so anyway, Fruit of the Loom. I don't know this Leafs man. And you watch the videos, and the Leafs man is always in the back. Like, it's easy to not notice him. So I don't see, like, Mr. Brown Leafs man last time I checked, which was not long ago. I'm not sure why that guy's got a helmet on. But I may have not have seen that one video. I don't know. Maybe there's a reason for it. Oh, that guy has boxing gloves, so that's a boxing helmet. So that might be it. Leafs man again. Strangely brown. Why would you have like dead looking leaves? I don't even know what those leaves are supposed to be. Like, what kind of leaves is it? There's Leafs man again. I would guess it's supposed to be lettuce, but why are they so brown? Leafs man again. So yeah, if you go back, I was not able to find any. Dang, you know, it's really like it's changed since last time I looked, because I just don't remember this guy being so light colored in any of the images I saw, and now he is in almost all of them. Huh. So what do I remember about this guy's hat? So I just remember it being lower and not white. Like, there's white on it, but just like maybe 30% of the white that this one has, maybe 50%. And it was lower, and then there was the stem on the top kind of went, it was up and perky and brown. It wasn't floppy and black. And now it looks like it's floppy and black in all of them. Okay, that's not helping. Let's try Google. A lot of the images are weirdly, like, I don't know, is it kind of a thing now? They're blurry. You can barely see like anything on a lot of these. This one might be the exception. Look at how light his leaves are. Like, he's dying. It almost looks like linguini in this one. Look at this one. This is like linguini man. There's very few that are actually of a decent size that you can actually see much. Huh. I don't know. I really want to say this looks like it's changed since just recently. Of course, all of these images are so tiny. Look at, what color is that supposed to mean? So what are the fruits in Fruit of the Loom logo? Just occurred to me I might want to try to find out. And its history. Leaves. It just says leaves. The colorful fruit of the Loom logo design comprises a red apple, green grapes, leaves, berries, and purple grapes. Okay, leaves and berries. So those little tiny yellow things must be berries, I guess, in the logo, but there's no guys who have berries. Trademark. Let's see what that comes to. 200 years and one of the oldest trademarks in history. The first logo in 1893 showed a red apple, green grapes, currants, and purple grapes. Okay, so maybe that's what those currants are. They yellow? Currant berries. Currants. Berries. I don't think there was currants in there ever, though. Currants. What color are currants? All right, they have a single dot, so that could be currants. Yellow. Let's see. Is there yellow currants? Currants. Yellow tomato currants. Okay, it looks like they are currants. Those are kind of cool looking. Occurs to me, I don't know anything about currants. They are pretty, aren't they? All right, currants. Bush of ripe yellow currant growing in a garden as summer harvest. Okay, so, yeah, looks like that's what those are. Currants. So, Logopedia. Just going to go to the classic go-to location for checking history of the logo. Logopedia fandom. (1851) logo missing. Through 1893, logo missing. 93 to 1936, apples, grapes, leaves, and currants. Of course, I wasn't alive then, so I wouldn't know. Apples, grapes, one leaf, and currants. Looks pretty simple to 78. Okay, this is where it should be what I remember. So, yeah, since 78 at least. I really don't remember that one. I still feel like the cornucopia was already here in the 70s. So this image here has just been a little bit darker, and it's here. I don't remember this circle thing. It was a freaking cornucopia. Okay, so it looks like it's been pretty much the same now. 2 grapes, currants, leaves, and an apple. For like evers and evers. Cornucopia variant used on April 1, 2022. Hardy har hars. Okay, that's the joke on us. I wonder how many people are going to go in here and say, oh, look, they did have a cornucopia. Interesting, they said it was used on April 1, but they didn't say why. They didn't mention the Mandela or anything. No free lunch for us, pardon the pun. All right, so that's the end of that. I'm going to read you guys. It was definitely banana, apple, grapes, and fall leaves. Okay, so you have a banana, but you remember the leaves. So, I don't know what to say. I've never seen the leaves. The leaves definitely seem to be the least remembered thing, which is ironic because it's officially always been there, and yet it is the least remembered thing. Did I hear about the railroad strike? Nope. Apple, grape, banana, leaves. So you remember the banana, though. That's interesting. I am positive there weren't 2 grapes. I mean, how boring is that? They should just make a guy with a current or something, you know, if they run out of stuff. A current, it could look kind of like a pear. People would write it off. What do even currants taste like? I don't think I've ever ate a currant. All right. Now you have to deal with me being super curious. What do currants taste like? Has an acidic kick that balances their sweetness. Black currants are the sweetest. They can be tart, sweet, acidic with a pungent flavor that belies the currant's small stature. Currants have a sweet and sour berry flavor. All currant varieties have a bright acid kick to balance out their sweetness and a fair amount of tannins. Uh-oh, tannins. Does it make you pucker? Because I don't really like that. Dried Corinth grapes. In the United States and UK and Ireland, currants often refer to Zante currant. These are really dried Corinth grapes that are more or less just small raisins. True currants are small berries that grow on shrubs and are more like gooseberries. Fresh black, red, pink, or white currants, as well as dried black currants, can be enjoyed in various ways with a sweet and bright acidic berry flavor. Okay, so apparently all of us UK and United States and Ireland people thought we were eating currants, but we weren't eating currants. And they're actually grapes. Well, currants can be used like blueberries and are somewhat like blackberries and raspberries. Okay, so apparently I can't get them. I'm gonna have to check into how to grow currants because now I'm kind of curious. Boink, boink. Close all these down. You know, all those problems I had with the computer last week, knock on wood. After the show, there were no problems. Poosh, the computer worked just fine. So, I rebooted the computer a couple times lately, including earlier today. So hopefully we're good. Never heard of currant. I have heard of them as some kind of little berry. In my mind, they were kind of sour or something. I don't think I've ever had them before, though. I could see jam, you know, if you take something that's sour and put a load of sugar and make jam, it can be really good because the sour is a nice counterpoint. Or tart. Currants are a bit like raisins or so. So apparently they're exactly like raisins in the United States, Ireland, and the UK because they in fact are raisins. I remember an orange. A number of people do remember an orange. Like I said, there's a bit of a, grapes of the Loom. There is a bit of a memory of seeing an orange once. So, Yeah, I kind of wonder if currants aren't maybe on the shift a bit too, and that's why they're like different things in different countries, different flavors or different something. They cover a lot. Okay. All right. Now this one was brought to you by JoJo's. JoJo's figured this one out. She heard you guys may have remembered Legionnaires disease. Okay, so this is what I remember about Legionnaires disease. That it was really, really rare, but if you left standing water alone for a long time, it could get Legionella in it. And it was AC water. Like, you know, some of the air conditioners have water in them, like especially the old school ones that have standing water. And like say it in the winter, you wouldn't run or circulate that water and it would just sit there because in the winter it's cold. And then So they would say that if you didn't change out that water like once every 3 or 4 weeks, there's a small risk of Legionnaire's disease. And Legionnaire's was, if it was in the water and then you turned on the AC after a long hiatus, when it was aerosolized through the air conditioner, you could then get it into your lungs and catch Legionnaire's disease. And it was like super dangerous, deadly disease, but also extremely, extremely rare. And it was the only time I ever heard of it was in these cold water air conditioners, basically. Standing cold water. That's what it was. And it was super deadly. Well, so JoJo's was like mystified. Do you guys remember anything different about Legionnaire's disease? Raisins are not currants yet. So they're currants. Currants are currants in some countries, and then currants are actually dried grapes in my country and a number of others. It seems highly suspicious to me. Why wouldn't they just call it a raisin? I mean, why would they sell something as a dried currant when it was actually a raisin? It would probably sell better as like a golden raisin or something. Now it's all over Napa, blowing up into the sky, and people got sick. What? Are we? You talking about Legionnaires, right? Yeah, same air conditioner story. It was drip on you, and you would. It could drip on you, you get it, but pretty much like if you washed your hands, you'd be all right. Just don't breathe it. So what we would do, like when I had, there was one of these old school air conditioners in, I think it was one of the back rooms in one of the places I worked in the 90s. And so we had the Legionnaires thing. So every 3 weeks, they would drain that water out of there and then replace it. And we didn't really do anything super fancy other than wash hands. And it's like every 3 weeks, got to drain that air conditioner so there'd be no Legionnaires. Okay, so the news story, though, let's see. Legionnaires disease. I always have trouble remembering how to spell this. Legion. I think there's 2 R's. Disease. Wiki. I've never heard of it like this. It's way more common now. Let's look at the wiki for the official timeline story. Is a form of pneumonia. So first, I've never heard of it being like likened to or being a form of pneumonia caused by any species of Legionella bacteria. I really only remember there being one bacteria. So there's different species and all this, often caused by Legionella pneumophila. Now, it was just Legionella. Signs and symptoms: shortness of breath, high fever, muscle pains, and headaches, blah, blah, nausea, vomiting, blah, blah, blah. Begins 2 to 10 days after exposure. So it's more like pneumonia now. The bacteria is found naturally in fresh water. It can contaminate hot water tanks, hot tubs, cooling towers of large air conditioners. It is usually spread by breathing the mist that contain the bacteria. Okay. I'm not sure if it was a bacteria or virus, but I do remember the mist thing. Also can occur when contaminated water is aspirated. So that would be like it goes down the wrong pipe and into your lungs. Like if you were swimming and you got, like you inhaled some, that would be aspiration. Does not spread typically does not spread directly between people. I've never heard of it spreading between people. This is the part I have not heard of. And most people who are exposed do not become infected. That's not a story I remember. Risk factors include older age, a history of smoking, chronic lung disease, and poor immune function. So now what I remember is that if you got a big dose, you were going to get infected. But now apparently most people just kick it down. It's not as big a deal. Now they do say it's kind of deadly, like 10%. But that's only people who come down with an infection, so they're already probably weaker to start with. So it's way less dangerous now. I remember you're pretty much going to die if you got it. But now it's got, I think it was a 10% death rate was what I wrote, something like that. No vaccine, okay. Good maintenance of water systems important. Yes, that's true. Same. Treatment of Legionnaires disease is with antibiotics. Azithromycin, doxycycline. I don't remember there being a treatment. I wouldn't swear on that one, but I pretty much thought you just died. Hospitalization is often required. I just remember that, yes. Fatality rate is about 10%. And it sounds like those are people who could become infected for healthy persons. 25% for more issues persons. The number of cases that occur globally is not known. I thought they pretty much had an idea. Now here's a part that gets me. Legionnaires disease is the cause of an estimated 2 to 9% of pneumonia cases that are acquired outside of a hospital. So that's a lot. An estimated 8,000 to 18,000 cases a year in the United States require hospitalization. So that means there's a whole bunch more that don't. That's all different. All right, another thing is it appears to prefer hot water now. Outbreaks of disease account for a minority of cases. Well, it can occur any time of the year. It is more common in the summer and fall. There was a weird noise out there. I think it was just Jake brakes and a big truck, but all right, somewhere in here, I don't know if it was this article or another one, they compared amounts, like how common Legionnaires was found in various water supplies, and they found it more often in hot water than cold water. So it's in reservoirs now, apparently. Legionnaires is in reservoirs, thrives in aquatic systems. I thought it had to be standing water. I would not call reservoirs that so much because, you know, it has currents and stuff. Where it's established within amoeba in a symbiotic relationship. I've never heard of Legionnaires having a symbiotic relationship with amoeba. Legionnaire bacteria survive in water as intracellular parasites of water-dwelling protozoa, such as amoeba. Amoeba are often part of biofilms. And once the Legionella are protected within a biofilm, they are particularly difficult to destroy. I don't remember. This is just not how any of it was. It wasn't in reservoirs. But the other thing is, if you start looking now, apparently it's in a lot of hot springs. So you could totally get Legionnaires from hot springs now. Threat of infection can be reduced by enforcing a highly detailed system of water safety plan. Keep water temperature above or below 68 to 122. So apparently now it likes 68 to 122 F. That's pretty hot, 122 F. Prevent stagnation, prevent buildup of biofilm, disinfect system, chlorination, copper, silver ionization, or UV light. Between 1995 and 2005, over 32,000 cases of Legionnaire's disease and more than 600 outbreaks were reported in European Working Group for Legionella Infections. All right, let's go into the thing that actually I Legionella. So apparently what got all this started was JoJo's told me about this thing in Hot Springs, Arkansas. They have a lot of hot springs, but they closed all their hot springs in that area in Arkansas because apparently they're all infested with Legionnaires disease. I've never heard of hot springs having it, and these hot springs are pretty freaking hot. You know, up there where you can barely stand to get in them hot. I think it was like there was some research that like 10-25% or something hot springs were found to have Legionnaires. They found it in Spain, Arkansas, Guapa Bath and Spa in Hot Springs. So if you have a hot springs now, you could have this. And, you know, it bubbles and you're sitting in it. You can get it, supposedly. But then most people that are exposed don't actually get infected. So it's less of a deal now. Arkansas senior residents positive for live Legionella. Let's see. Legionella Hot Springs, Spain. I was looking up research, and I did find a bunch on, I guess there's this part of Spain that has a lot of hot springs, and they also went around testing and found it. A bunch of hotels in Spain were testing positive. So they're just like in the hot water pipes. So this seems weird to me that it's actually in pipes, because you turn on the spigot, the water moves. It's not sitting there that long, but they're saying hotels. So like one of the things I saw in one of the websites was Legionella is a respiratory illness often associated with hotels and travel. I've never heard of it being associated with hotels and travel, but now that's the thing. 20 confirmed cases of Legionnaires were reported in California's Coachella Valley. Okay, there's Legionella strains in Tunisian hot spring water. Then they're talking about all the different types of Legionnaires. 3 cases in Montreal, 13 cases in Napa. Cooling towers were apparently the focus of health department's investigation. Anyway, so it's a thing now, but it's less dangerous. That's the short version. You thought only thrives in hot, dark water tanks. Yeah, for me it was cold water. Never heard of them in natural hot water. Yeah, and that stuff's moving, so it's different now. All right, I'm going to click on Shari's link. No idea where we're going. Canary Islands Dragon Tree Seeds. Okay, Dracena. Okay, these guys, I've had these on before. They were in my timeline, at least in the 90s. I actually have some of these. They're not this old. They will grow in this area with a little bit of tip protection. We do have them growing coastally here. They're not that big. One thing I did notice the change, though, is they native to Canary Islands. Whoa. They're native to more places. Wow. Okay. Canary Islands, Cape Verde, Madeira, Western Morocco, and introduced to the Azores. Well, introduced, I mean, we have them here, then they're introduced all over. Okay. No, that's one change. They're native to way more places. And you will see a whole bunch of them together. It used to be that there would just be one natural one, and then you'd have to hike 2 miles to see another. But now you get these like mini forests of them. So that's the 2 changes. It used to be just one. I think they're like, some of them are, there's more bigger ones now too. But yes, I did have those, and we have them here. Maybe they came from my timeline. I don't know. Naka Cave and Thailand, the snake that looks like a giant snake fossil. Naka Cave with a snake that looks like a giant snake fossil. We'll try that one. So is that a fossil or is it actual snake, like a live one? Images. Oh, I get it. Okay. All right, so it looks like a snake head here, and then the body looks like a snake body, I guess. And it's a cave, so interesting. Yeah, I've not heard of this. All right, so there would be the head, and then it looks like the body goes through these caves. It was believed that centuries ago a snake was cursed to be a stone. At this point in 2020, I'm sure it's going to wake up. Huh, okay, interesting. Yeah, no, I've never heard of that one. So you remember it in hot water. That's interesting. For me, it was cold standing water. Certainly not pipes, unless like the hotel was defunct and it sat there for a month. As a child, cartoons in the 70s convinced me that you got Legionnaires in some Middle Eastern deserts. I don't know, maybe it was the oases or something. I don't know. There are many more petrified creatures, or what looks like petrified creatures. It's going to be interesting. They're showing up. They look like petrified creatures. Where is that storyline going? Are they going to turn out to be giant petrified creatures? Is it going to take another 100 shifts to get there? Very interesting storyline to watch. People can be born with 2 hearts. 2 hearts, like, it's like, born with... So last I checked, the only 2 hearts were if they added a second... No, that was like kidneys, wasn't it? No, I don't think there was any 2 hearts, people, because I was checking because of Doctor Who. I don't think there was. Or there might have been, you know, I think that there was one where they added another one in, like it was artificially added. Born with 2 hearts. So I would say, I checked on this because of Doctor Who. I'm like, are there any Time Lords? And there were only ones that were added in by surgeons. All right, I think this is the one where they added in the second heart. Yeah, there's the artificial one. So now we have, there is somebody now who was born with 2. Who has also had a 3rd leg, was born with 2 hearts. Was unknown until, okay, so that's a change. There is somebody with 2 hearts now. Aside from conjoined twins, no human is born with 2 hearts. Baby born with 3 heads, 2 arms, and 2 hearts. Ooh, this is an interesting one. Rosie King, born in 1997, has 2 hearts and an unidentified blood type. This was caused by a genetic mutation, but mutation is a major part of evolution. This in itself can lead to a whole new species. Okay, Rosie King, born with 2 hearts. Rosie King, born with 2 hearts. Hannah Clark. Let's see. Rosie O'Donnell, Rosie Perez, King of Hearts. You know, this is interesting. There's this mention of Rosie King, and that's it. Rosie Perez. I'm glad I saved that one. 1997. Let's add that in. 2 hearts. 1997. 7. All right, I'm just going to check this one to see if it's it. But it sounds like there's this quick mention of her. No, this one was one where they grafted on an extra one. All right, so there's this quickie mention of Rosie King, and that's like it. I can't find anything else. I have a feeling we're going to see more of that, though, because now we've had several people born with 2 hearts. Yeah, it's interesting that you brought that one up. I have checked that one because of the Time Lord thing. Peeps born 2 hearts. All right. All right, this one's a quickie, and then I have one more, and then I'll be done. I got a half hour, so. We've had these on before. Hobo Days, one of the commenters on the channel, noticed them again and was wondering about them. So good job, Hobo Days. But when I looked at them, even though we've had them on before, I've noticed a few changes. So Dong Tao Dragon Chicken. That's a chicken with those big, thick legs that looked really creepy. So I'm looking at him again. Darn it. I don't know why there's like an image leads to more images. Open, here we go. Open in a new tab. So these are the dragon chickens with the giant legs. But I noticed something different about these chickens that I didn't see. And I looked at a lot of images last time because I think I used this on the thumbnail. So when I use something on the thumbnail, I go through like a jillion images looking for the best image to use on the thumbnail. Okay, here's another one. This one really shows it. Not how I recall them. There's something different. Here's another example. There's quite a few examples. I didn't have to, I mean, it pretty much jumped out at me. This guy has it. Keep going on the wrong one here. Let me see. There was one that, here, this one again. These guys also show it. I must be getting tired. I keep clicking on the wrong one over and over again. There was one other one I saw that very much looked strange. So apparently these like chickens, if you haven't seen it before, they're just kind of prized for their meat and then their chicken legs. I don't know. I guess they have a lot of meat on them. Super fat chickens. So, like, what's different on these guys than last time? That is the question. Where is that one? There was one that I very much thought was weird. I think it was this one. Ugh, too tiny. All right, this guy. All right, there's another one of them. That's a young one. But you see, well, I don't know if he's a young one. He does have... Okay, so, I don't know. Do you guys see it? Do you guys see it? All right, Shari is honing in on it. Yeah, if somebody's being obnoxious, I'm not going to take the time to read all those, but you can just block them completely. I'm not sure what was on there. Okay, so what's going on with these freaking things? I don't remember them having a lot of featherless parts. So a lot of them are showing like the stomach without feathers. And like this one has it there. There's like a big bulbous part here that has no feathers. The necks of a lot of them don't have feathers now. The back side, what is going on with that? It's all crinkly and crenulated just like the feet, but a lot of them are starting to show that. So I'm like, is this going to be a giant crinkly, crankly mess? Look at all of these. They've got almost no feathers on the back here. Like they're half plucked. This guy's got a little bit of the stomach knob without feathers again. So like half of them have large featherless spots. Look at this guy. He's got the stomach, and then he's got some on the neck, some on the sides. Look at all the stuff on the head. This guy's like missing half his feathers. And it seems like that's the path they're heading in. It's very like weird, creepy eyes. These things, I don't know what these are going to turn into, but they're getting weirder and weirder. So I call a Mandela on the Mandela for these dragon chickens. I just don't remember them. Shari noticed. You were seeing it. No, they're not hormone pumped. They're actually, this is the breed. It's called dragon chicken. They naturally grow like this with these big freaking feet. And now other parts. It was just the feet at first. They looked fairly normal on top before, but not anymore. Let me just see what the wiki says about these things. Dong Tao Chicken wiki. Wow, it's still really tiny. A rare Vietnamese chicken breed with enlarged feet that originated from the village Dong Tao. Valued as a delicacy in Vietnam. They were once bred exclusively to be served to the royal family and mandarins. They are difficult to breed as their large legs make hatching difficult, and they are also sensitive to changes in temperature. Hens often break the eggs with their bulky legs. Thus, chicken eggs are usually kept in an incubator. It takes 8 months to 1 year until the chickens are ready for slaughtering at 5 or 6 kilograms. So, like 5 kilograms, that's like 11, 12-ish pounds, I think. Yeah, anyway, it looks like they're changing additionally from where they showed up as. Yeah, so a lot of countries eat chicken feet. I just don't, I just felt that the flavor wasn't good. They're rubbery and there's a bunch of bones. I guess if it was more like a tiny little bones and a whole bunch of meat, and it was cooked like fried or something, it might be better, but. I don't know. This thing just showed up like three years ago, maybe. The other thing I think I don't like about them is whenever I had them, because I have a lot of Asian friends, and I've gone to the dim sum restaurants that don't speak English. It's the real dim sum. And then most, like 95% of them are delicious, but every now and then there'll be something in there and you don't know what, and then you're like, didn't like that one so much. So it's a bit of a Russian roulette of eating, many, many delicious ones, and then one you're like, no, thank you. And the chicken legs were no thank you. But they, the way they cooked them, they were sort of like boiled. They were rubbery. They were full of bones. I wouldn't say they were horrible tasting, but it just wasn't like anything I really wanted to eat either. All right, so that was that one. I got one left. I've got about 25 minutes. So we're back to the bees again, and this is kind of another revisiting, and this one was found by Mark Tyus. We've kind of covered this a little bit, but this is another one that I feel like the story has kind of evolved since last time I covered it. So Mark Tyus found this one. Good find. All right. Do bees really die after stinging? Okay, so the new story, we've covered before that some people were saying that if you just held still and kind of helped the bee after it stung you, because you were really a nice person, obviously, and helped the bee, you could help that poor little bee get his stinger out. If you were real gentle, you could help him get his stinger out intact, and then he could fly off and not be killed by stinging. Okay, that was the story. Way back, what I remember is they would sting you and they would fly off and they would leave their stinger behind, and that was the end of it. But then it was like, well, if you're really careful, you can help them escape. That's the last thing I'm thinking about when I get stung. I'm thinking about getting that stinger out. But there was a storyline like that a number of years ago that I came up on here. But the new storyline now is not just that. Now they have barbs that are retractable. So one of the reasons they said they couldn't pull their stinger out is because there was reverse barbs, kind of like the anyway, there's other stuff that has that, like porcupine quills. The small porcupine quills from the North American porcupine have that also. Once they get in, they don't want to let go. And some other thorns and stuff have that. So that was the story, that they had basically commit suicide when they sting you. But the story now is that when they sting other insects, the other insects don't have the tough skin, so they can actually repeat sting other insects. It used to be, and I remember a big old drama story about it, where wasps were attacking the beehive, and the poor bees had to commit suicide trying to get this wasp. Well, that's not true anymore, because now honeybees can repeatedly sting other insects safely, because the skin of the other insects are not so tough that they can't just pull their stinger back out. It's only like mammals that they get stuck in. And if you just hold still, they'll get back out. Just give them a minute. Because now they have like this system in their stinger where they can kind of move and retract and move around, and their stinger is kind of like an active thing that they can pull out if you give them a minute. All right, so here we go. During the sting, the bee pumps venom into you from attached venom sacs through the needle-like portion of the sting apparatus called the stylus. The stylus is situated between two lancets with barbs. Once they sting you, they can then push and pull the stylus in your flesh. The venom sacs pump venom into your body. I don't remember this like push and pull thing. In most bees, including native solitary bees and the social bumblebees, the lancets are fairly smooth. They have tiny barbs which help the bee grab and hold the victim's flesh when it stings. But the barbs are easily retractable, so the bee can withdraw its stinger. The same is true for wasps. Most bees and wasps can sting you. Pull out the stinger and fly off before you can yell, ouch. In honeybee workers, the stinger is fairly large. Backward-facing barbs. The barbs dig into your flesh. As the bee flies off, the entire barbs can be left behind. Okay, but then the story, this one doesn't really cover it, but there was somewhere a story that if you hold still long enough, then even the honeybees can get out. Let me find that one. There was actually a video of it. So the story that's new for me is this retractable barb thing. Now I'm going to have to go back to YouTube to find it. Dun, dun, dun. So the story before is if you help the honeybee, he could get out. But now the story is it just needs some time to do its little wiggly thing, and it'll corkscrew around, and then it'll escape, and everything will be fine. So if you don't like just squash the thing, it will get out. That is the story. Doink, 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 doink. Comments. It was in my comments. I probably should have saved the original. And it was from Mark Tyus, so I'll just go straight to his. No. Here it is. No. That was a different one. Dun, dun, dun. There it is. Thank you, Mark. All right, so basically they're going to let a bee sting them. Now it's in there. She's very well aware if she pulls too hard, she'll die. So it used to be, yes, they would just pull too hard. But now the story is if you don't scrape them off, then they won't die. They can get out, usually. So I'm going to silence this for starters. You don't need to hear the guy yakking. All right, so she's going to, like, basically go around and around a few times. She's going to corkscrew around, and she's moving those two barbs. There's a line of barbs here and a line of barbs there, and so she's going to move those as she spins around. And then she's going to work the thing out. This shows the two lines. There's where the poison is, and these are these retractable blade sections that go like this. And she's doing that. So when she goes in, she does that. But when she goes out, she does it in reverse. So I don't remember there being any sawing action in the sting. I do remember there being reverse barbs. But basically, she's getting out now. See the corkscrew action. So you have to be kind of patient. Meanwhile, she's pumping poison in you and you're just hanging out. I'm not going to show what it looks like when that doesn't work. Somewhere in there they showed her escaping. I think it's down here somewhere. So she's almost got it out. Come on, show it. There. Right at the end. Nope, she got it out. So she basically can get out now. So if you hold still, they'll get out. I'm not doing it. Maybe you want to, but I ain't doing it. So you have to wait a couple minutes, though. So that's a new story. So first of all, I do not remember this corkscrew blading thing at all. And second of all, they couldn't do it by themselves. You had to, like, help them. Everything is screwed. So yeah, so they, I'm wondering if we're going to get another year or two of shifts and they're going to be able to sting you more and more. That's why I don't like this, because I'm like, I feel like they're going to sting the crap out of you thing is coming. Because the other thing that has changed for me is, now when they sting you, they deposit that smell on you that attracts all the others to sting you. So it used to be they would kind of maybe go into a frenzy and anybody around there would get stung if they were in a frenzy. But now all it takes is one crabby one to sting you. And then from then on, you have a smell on you that says sting me. So even if you got stung by one bee way out there, now when you walk by, other bees will eventually find you and want to sting you. So since we have hives here, what happens is if we get stung once, you have to change your clothes and take an effing shower. Because if you go back out after the first sting, the other guys are like, this guy. So it's way more obnoxious now. Way more. All right, Sappyite's going to go. Yeah, I'm almost done. I'm pretty much just checking over what you got to say, but I'm pretty much done now. Yeah, the hives way back were like balls, and now I don't know, they look like anything else but balls. These sleeping flowers now, yeah, I've never heard of that either. So yeah, the chicken legs, they really just taste like chicken skin. They're not bad. Like if they boil chicken skin though, that's not good either, right? I mean, if they would deep fry it or something, it would be a lot better. Plus, who wants to eat something full of bones? If it was all meat and hardly any bone, it would be different. Okay, we are back to bees dying after stinging. What, you were where they didn't die after? Mine was that they would die after stinging, and then we got to where if you help them out there, then they wouldn't sting. Now we're at they don't die after stinging unless it's humans or mammals and you don't help them out. Haven't seen yellow jacks anywhere for over 20 years. That is a good point. We had ongoing battles with yellow jackets here. I'll take that back. Okay, haven't seen hives in 20 years, but I do occasionally see some yellow jackets every few years. It does seem like there's a lot less of them, though. Oh, you know what? I forgot one other thing. Another thing they said is honeycomb, where bees lay larvae, are often coated with venom, which is antimicrobial. I've never heard of the comb being coated with venom. I've never heard of the venom being antimicrobial. So that's another change. And there was one part where it says that they always die after one sting is folklore. It's folklore that honeybees die after one sting. So once it hits the folklore stage, I'm starting to think Mandela time. It's just folklore. Sorry. Well, it's always good to go on a diet, right? You should know, Shari, there's going to be spiders, snakes, or something on here. It just never fails. The Mandela likes its gross, creepy stuff. Oh, we got alligators on the beaches. We got multi-stinging kind of honeybees. What was the rest of it? Ugh. Um, Purple honey. Oh, Legionnaires is everywhere. Oh boy. Sounds like it's like a nasty flu now, though. Yeah, four-leaf clover. I don't even want to talk about that one. I have heard of that one. It's, speaking of gross, that could be something I never knew about. That's one of the reasons I didn't talk about it. I am very suspicious of that one, but yeah, we've had the blue bees. I've had those on, although we don't have them actually physically here yet. The murder hornets have been on the show. I don't remember it being covered in venom. I've always known that. See, no, they said the venom is antimicrobial now, not the honey. Yes, the honey was antibacterial, antimicrobial, but not the venom. That's what's the new thing. The venom itself now. So remember those stories where people were getting like stung by bees to control their autoimmune disease? Yeah, it's the venom. Let me see if I can find that again. See how it's sneaky, because you hear bee and antimicrobial and your brain jumps to the honey. Even though I said venom, your brain, because the brain is got now an association with honey and antimicrobial, so it's easy for them to slide that venom thing in, and you don't quite easily notice. There we go. Antimicrobial properties of Apis mellifera's bee venom 2020. Rich source of secondary venom is a rich source of secondary metabolites from honeybees. Contains a variety of bioactive ingredients, including peptides, proteins, enzymes, and volatile metabolites. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, it doesn't really say a lot here. Address the antimicrobial properties of bee venom and its compounds. So it's already known in 2020. Comparative studies of the bee venom's antimicrobial. Let's see what the date on that guy is. 2021. Interesting. Against Borrelia. Borrelia. I think that's one that humans can get, isn't it? 2017. Oh, yes, it's the Lyme disease. All right, so they're testing bee venom against Lyme disease. This is interesting. So this kind of goes to what I was saying already, that there, this bee sting therapy might be more of a thing if the venom is antimicrobial and can cure stuff. Then if you have Lyme disease, you can just get some bee venom. Painful, but if it works, it's better than having Lyme disease. That's interesting, though. I didn't know about that one for Lyme. So yeah, they're saying that the honeycomb is usually often coated with bee venom, and that helps kill a lot of microbes and stuff. And then when the larvae crawl out, they get coated with the venom, and then that also kills. It's like a bath in microbial killer, so they won't be infected with a bunch of junk. So that's pretty neat. Yeah, it was for some kind of autoimmune problems was when, for me, that they were doing the bee sting therapy. And it's still around. So anyway, it looks like nature might be coughing up some like natural remedies to problems. It'd be nice if we can bypass big pharma. With some luck, maybe big pharma is destined to be exposed for what it is, and it would probably be greatly diminished after that if that were to happen. So if that were to happen, we're going to need alternatives, stuff that actually solves problems instead of treats it would be nice. So maybe this bee venom thing is working up to be that. Anyways, we're almost done. I think I'm almost out of minutes here. So, and I'm out of things to say, so it's time to go. You know the storyline. Think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.